All right. So let's move on to encryption. Once again, what is encryption? A very simple thing. I'll explain karana. Mama gonna already mama discuss kara. The mataggal make liana. What's encryption? If I quickly write it, encryption kya what is encryption? It is the process of encoding it is the process of what? It is the process of encoding a message in order to increase the security. Simply this is known as what? Simply this is known as encryption. It is the process of encoding a message in order to increase the security. Encryption is a technique used in what? Cryptography, which provides confidentiality of transmitting data. All right. So simply it is a process of encoding a message in order to what? Increase the security by converting it into a what? Form where no one can understand. Me cryptography what's cryptography? So it's a type of language where no one can understand. It is the process of encoding a message in order to increase the what? Security by converting the message into by converting the message to a text where no one can understand. Simply it's known as what? Simply it is known as encryption. Encryption can So once again, what's decryption? It is the process of converting. It is the process of it is the process of decoding an encoded message called text. All right. So simply this is known as what? Decryption. Decryption can. So once again, guys, there are two types of encryptions. So what are the two types of encryptions? There's something called symmetric key encryption, and there's another method called asymmetric encryption. All right. I hope you have completed this note. So I'll clear it. Clear karana. Then there are two types of encryptions. Liagan. Two types of encryption. So there are two types of encryption. So what are the two types of encryption? First one, yes, it's symmetric encryption. What is it? Symmetric encryption. Yes, what's it? Symmetric encryption. So what's symmetric? Yeah. Liagana symmetric encryption. In others, make it up a private key encryption. It is also known as private key encryption. It is known as what? Private key encryption. Liagan. So what happens here? So once again, what happens here? Liagan. Private key is used to, yes, yeah. Private key is used to encrypt as well as decrypt. Is used to what? Encrypt as well as decrypt. So private key is used to encrypt as well as decrypt the information. All right, simple, right? So what's the private key encryption or symmetric encryption? Private key is used to encrypt as well as decrypt the information by both sender and receiver. By both whom? Sender and receiver. Very simple. So once again, what next? We can write something like this. So here, the common private keys are exchanged among, so once again, the common private keys are exchanged among the sender as well as the receiver before exchanging the information. So once again, a common private key is a common private keys are exchanged among the sender as well as the receiver before exchanging the information. All right, so that is known as a private key encryption. Oh no, my guys, private key encryption. That is known as private key encryption. So once again, api podi example like a gamu. Let's take a small example. Let's say here we have able, okay? So here, let's say we have able, and here, let's say we have a bright. Yes, able on one side and bright is on other side. Able එක පැත්තකින් bright අනිත් පැත්තේ. මරුනේ. මරු. Once again, able is on one side and bright is on the other side. So මෙතන කවුද ඉන්නේ? මෙතන ඉන්නවා able. So here we have able, here we have bright. Now let's say able is typing a text, and that text is what? Adu. And he's typing a text, and what's that text? It's Adu, okay? Let me Adu කියන එක, yes, now that will be converted into what? Cryptography. So that will be converted to what? Cryptography. That is known as what? That is known as encryption. ඒකට තමයි encryption කියලා කියන්නේ. Example something like that, okay, which no one can understand. So once again, what is decryption? I make ado කියලා convert වෙනවා. Once again, it will be what? Converted into ado. Yes, once again, it will be converted to ado, okay. ඒක ado කියලා convert. Now what's this මේ මොකද guys? මෙන්න මේක තමයි යන්නේ encryption කියන්නේ. Yes, this is known as encryption. ලියා ගන්න. Yes, මෙන්න මේකට තමයි encryption කියන්නේ. Very simple, right? Yes, simple තමයි. මේ මොකද්ද? මේක මෙතන ලියා ගන්න decryption. Yeah, it's decryption. So once again, yeah, මේක අනිවාර්යෙන් ඇඳ ගන්න. It's very important, okay? It's very, very important. So what happens here? So once again මේ encrypt කරන්න use කරන්නේත් private key එක decrypt කරන්න use කරන්නේත් private key එක. So once again encrypt කරන්නේත් private key එක. Yes. Decrypt කරන්න use කරන්නේත් private key එක. Very simple. So once again the similar private key is used for both encryption and decryption. That's why it is known as a symmetric encryption. ඒක තමයි එකට symmetric encryption කියන්නේ. So we can write something like this. So once again, private keys are used to encrypt. All right. So private key is used to encrypt as well as private key is used to decrypt. Am I correct? Very simple, right? Yes, it's very, very simple. So it's similar. මේ දෙක similar නේද? It's similar. Yes, it's similar. Yes, it's similar. Please complete the note. Once again, what happens here? Able phone again text එකක් යවනවා අඩු කියලා and එක කාටද යවන්නේ bright. So able is the sender, bright is the receiver. හැබැයි මේ අතර මැදින කවුරුත් දකින්නවද මොකද able message කරන්න කියලා නෑ නෑ කවුරුත් දකින්නේ නෑ. Why is it? Because no one can understand this what මේ cryptography කියලා කියන්නේ. Yeah. Crypto text something like that. Crypto text. So this text cannot be understood by anyone. Okay. So once again, when it comes to WhatsApp messages, guys, it's end-to-end encrypt, right? It's what end-to-end encrypt, which means then we are when a කාටරි message එක දැම්මොත් එහෙම ඒ message එක බලන එක්කෙනාට විතරයි ඒක පේන්නේ. අතරමැද කාටවත් ඒක පේන්නේ නැහැ. No one else can what see that message. කවුරුත් ඒක දන්නේත් නැහැ. ඔය Facebook එකේ ඕකනේ කරන්න ගියදී try to what remove that end-to-end encryption which means yeah ඒ කියන්නේ එතකොට දැන් ඔය end-to-end encryption එක අයින් කරොත් එහෙම අතරමැද ඉන්න කට්ටිය දන්නවා able මොනවද bright message කරේ කියලා. So because it can what negative point to privacy, that's why a lot of people stop using WhatsApp and started use Telegram and Signal. So yes, this is known as මෙන්න මේක තමයි symmetric encryption. In other words, private key encryption කියන ඔන්න ඕකට තමයි. Yes, ලියා ගන්න. All right, so let's move on to asymmetric encryption. Now, you know what is symmetric encryption, what happens here. So here a common private key is being shared among the sender and the use receiver, and private key is used to encrypt as well as the same private key is used to decrypt the particular information. So something very simple. So the security is much more higher, right? So once again, as I mentioned earlier, the WhatsApp එකකින් එහෙම නැති කරන්න ගිය ඔන්න ඔය security එක තමයි. All right. So what next? So yeah, once again, when it comes to this encryption, I think able කියන එක දන්නේ bright විතරයි ඉතින්. අය වෙන කවුරුත් දන්නේ නැහැ ඉතින්. ඇයි ඒ? Because it is transferred in our cryptography. I mean, they are being transferred in a different language where no one can understand. And the person who has the same private key only can what, decrypt that. Once again, let's move on to asymmetric encryption. Now that's a bit complex. Anyhow, අපි ඒකත් මේ diagram එක ඇඳලා ලෙස්ටර් ඉගෙන ගමු. ලියා ගන්න once again asymmetric encryption, in other words මේකට කියන්නේ public key encryption. මොකද්ද? Public key encryption. What happens here? ලියා ගන්න. Sender uses a public key to encrypt. They are gonna encrypt information, and the receiver uses they are gonna receiver uses a private key for encryption, and receiver uses a private key for decryption. So once again, what happens here? Sender uses a public key to encrypt information, and receiver uses a private key for decryption. Very simple method. Here, two different keys are used for encryption and decryption. Here, two different keys are used for encryption as well as decryption. All right. So that's why it is known as what? Asymmetric encryption. So that's why it is known as what? Asymmetric encryption. All right. In progress. So once again, public key of the receiver is used to encrypt and the private key of the once again public key of the receiver is used to encrypt, and public key you see second once again public key of the once again yes public key of the receiver is used to encrypt, and the private key of the receiver is used to decrypt. All right, please complete the note. Public key of the receiver is used to encrypt, and public key of the receiver is used to encrypt, and the private key of the receiver is used to very good. All right, what happens here? Once again, let's Take an example like this. අපි example එකක් ගමු මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Once again, let's take able and bright. So once again, yeah, අපි මේක කියමු බලන්න. The encryption process were different, yeah, where different keys are used for encrypting and decrypting. The information is known as asymmetric key encryption. Every use in this system needs to have a pair of dissimilar keys, private key and public key. These keys are mathematically related when one key is used for encryption and the other can decrypt the ciphertext back to the original text. So once again, so these මෙතින් අර මං කිව්වේ කලින් it's what crypto text or ciphertext. So once again, what's plain text? Plain text can මම අඩු කිව්වේ. So that's plain text. So once again, crypto text or ciphertext. So this is my message, okay? So it's the plain text. මොකක්ද මේකට කියන්නේ? It's known as plain text. ලියා ගන්න once again what happens here. අපි බලමු මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා. Something very simple is only happening. So once again, what's it? It's cipher or crypto text. All right. So once again, what's it? මේ මොකද්ද? මේකට plain text කියන්නේ. It is known as plain text. It is known as what? Plain text. Here we have Ado. So once again, මෙතන Ado ඉන්නවා මෙතන. අපි නම දාමු once again able. BHDHT. So once again, කවුද මේ මෙයාස්කින්ද? මෙයා receive. So here what they are using? They are using asymmetric encryption. So they are using asymmetric encryption. So what happens here, guys? මෙතන මොකද වෙන්නේ? So once again, here encryption is conducted through public key of whom? Public key of bright. කවුද? Public key of bright. So anyone who has the public key of bright could encrypt this message. නේද? කාටරි message. For example, let's say මට bright message එකක් දාන්න. So my name is, let's say my name is Oshad. So let's say my name is Oshad. So once again, I should use to encrypt using a public key of bright. Why is it? Because I'm messaging bright now. Then I'm bright message I should have the public key of bright. So anyone who has the public key of bright can encrypt a message which we need to send to bright. හැබැයි කාටද මේක decrypt කරන්න බලන්න? හැමෝටම මේක decrypt කරන්න බෑ. මේක decrypt කරන්න බලන්න කාටද? Only the person who has the private key of bright. Now the security depends on the what? This private key. මෙන්න මේකෙන් තමයි මේ ඔක්කොම security එක depend වෙන්නේ. දැන් මේක හැමෝම ගාව තියෙනවා නම් anyone can what? Read the plain text which a person sends to bride. දැන් bride ගේ private key එක හැමෝම ගාව තියෙනවා නම් ඒ හැමෝටම මොකද්ද මේ දාව message කියලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. But the private key is usually safe. So once again, that's what I mentioned. Public key of the receiver is used to encrypt, and the private key of the receiver is what used to decrypt. So the security of these encryption method depends on the what? Safety of the private key. එකත් කියන්න ඕන අනිවාර්යෙන්. Why is it? If the private key of Bright is නේද? ඒක හැමෝම ගාව තියෙනවා නම් මේක නේද? ලොකු security එකක් නෑ එතකොට. Why is it? Because anyone can see the message or anyone can decrypt the message. Once again, for example, let's say Mahinda Rajapaksa wants to send a message to Bright, then that particular message should be encrypted using the public key of Bright. ඒක හැමෝටම use කරන්න පුළුවන්. Anyone can what? Anyone can access the public key. Definitely. It's what? It's encryption. It's the decryption. All right. So once again, a very simple process, right? Marama simple manner. It's known as what? මෙන්න මේකට තමයි asymmetric or public key encryption කියන්නේ. What is it? Asymmetric. What's it known as? Asymmetric key encryption. Which is also known as what? Public key encryption. Which is also known as public key encryption. Yeah, please complete this mega and the contact gala. All right. Hope you have completed the note. Tagalog complete කරගන්න. So once again, when it comes to able, okay, now able ට මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? Able has something like this. එක ලියා ගන්න. Able has something like this. He has the public key of Bright, and he has the public key, private key of able, and also he has the public key of able. So once again, what does it? යාට මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? So yeah, able can then call sender නේ. ලියා ගන්න sender. ඔක්කොම ලියා ගන්න. සාමාන්‍ය ඔයාලගේ එක්සෑම් එකේ දෙන්නේ something like this, okay? මේ bright කියනවට වෙනුවට තියෙන something like this. ඒ පුද්ගලයාගේ නමත් X, so he'll, for example, he'll consider bright as X, okay? Then he'll write a public key of, yeah, මේ pub එක කියන්නේ public key of X. Then you'll come across something like this. What's it? It's a private key of, yeah, Y. So මෙන්න මෙහෙම තමයි ඔයාලගේ එක්සෑම් එකේ ඔයාලට බොහෝ දුරට එන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි කමක් නැහැ, තේරුම් ගන්න මෙයා. So once again, මේ bright able කියන්නේ those are the name of the sender and the receiver, which means මේවා X වෙන්න පුළුවන්, Y වෙන්න පුළුවන්. It depends on the question. Anyhow, what's public? Yeah, pub bright කියන්නේ public key of bright. Yeah, again public of bright. ඉතින් ලියා ගන්න. මෙතන මොනවද? Private key of able. Once again, what's the speciality here? So when it comes to asymmetric key encryption, anyone who has the public key of bright can encrypt, right? Then කාට හරි bright message එකක් දානවා නම් මොනවද කරන්න ඕනේ? If he is using asymmetric key encryption, මොකක්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? He should what? Encrypt the message using the public key of bright. Then who can decrypt it? Decrypt කරන්න පුළුවන් the person who has, yeah, only has the, once again, a private key of bright, public key able. All right, so once again, මේ කවුද මේ able sender දාගමු අපි bright in others receiver. So guys, yeah, I'm not well, that's why I'm put that energetic නැතුව කතා කරන්නේ. I'm not well. once again ලියා ගන්න pub. So once again මෙයා ගමු pub bright. So what's pub bright? Public key of bright. Then what's, yeah, once again එයා ගමු තියෙන්නේ, එයා ගාව දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. එයා ගාව තියෙන්නේ private key එක, එයාගේ public key එක. එච්චර එයා ගාව තියෙන්නේ. එයාගේ private key එක, එයාගේ public key එක. So once again එයා ගමු තියෙන්නේ එයාගේ private key එක, එයාගේ public key එක. So once again the safety of this encryption depends on the privacy of the private key of the, yeah, receiver, right? So why is it then ඒක හැමතැනම කියා වෙලා තිබ්බොත් එහෙම then ඒතොර වැඩි අලනවා. So once again, bright in other receiver will always have his, yeah, receiver will only have his public and private key. All right. So what about the sender? Sender additionally has the public key of the receiver apart from his own private and public key. Please complete the note. So once again, this note is very important. Okay, once again, it comes to sender. Yes, sender additionally has the public key of the receiver apart from his own public and private key. So, but receiver will, yeah, have only his private and public key. So guys, this is the difference. Main difference එක ලියා ගන්න. So exam එකේ කොහොමද තියෙන්න පුළුවන්? Pub X කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්, pub Y කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. මේ Y X කියලා කියන්නේ those are the names of the senders and the receivers. ඒක මහින්ද වෙන්න පුළුවන්, රනිල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ගෝඨා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ. All right, once again, please complete these notes. All right. So those are the key points. Neither. Those are the key points. So make a product expand කරන්න. මෙතින් දාගන්න points to remember. Points to remember. So I'll note down the important points which you should remember. නේද? දැනගන්න ඕනේ important points ටිකක් මෙතන ලියන්න. When it comes to cryptography. And cryptography is the science of secret writing with the intention of keeping with the intention of keeping the secret data. So once again ලියාගන්න මේක. All right. So ලියාගන්න what's public key? Public key කියන්නේ maybe known by others. Again, maybe known by others. ලියාගන්න මෙතනින් private key. So what's private key? Only owner knows it. Only owner knows it. Okay, what else? We can write something like this. In asymmetric encryption. Again, in asymmetric encryption. I told you, right? Anyone who has the anyone who has the in asymmetric encryption, anyone who has the once again it comes to asymmetric encryption, anyone who has the public key can encrypt information. Encrypt information. But only the person who has the paired, okay, once again pair. You're going to pair. Example, let's say if the particular information is being encrypted using public key of Gotabaya, only the person who has the private key of Gotabaya paired private key can decrypt it. Yes. Those are some important points which you should know. Example, data encrypt using public key of Johnsina could be only decrypt data encrypt using public key of Johnsina could be only decrypt by the private key of Johnsina. So that's why I mentioned the security or the safety of this information depends on the privacy of the public, privacy of the private key. Once again, anyone who has the public key of John Cena can encrypt the data. So once again, liagan anyone. So once again, liagan like anyone who has the public key of John Cena can encrypt it. All right. So what else? Liagan, the security is based on the privacy. The security when it comes, when it comes to security is based on the privacy of the private key of the receiver. In what? Yes. The security is based on the privacy of the private key of the receiver. So once again, what are the other key points when it comes to symmetric encryption? Both private keys used for encryption and decryption. All right. What? For example, let's say it's like දැන් හිතන්නකෝ තවත් ළමයෙක් ඉන්නවා. Then there's a person called, let's say, කවුද? Let's say there's a person called, once again, let's say there's a person called Roman Range, okay? So there's a person called Roman Range, and let's say he wants to message Bright. So what will he do? He will encrypt the data using the public key of Bright. That's what I mentioned. Anyone who has the public key of the receiver can encrypt data. So once again, if Roman Range know the public key of Bright, yes, definitely. Something very similar. Asymmetric encryption can. හැබැයි ඒ information එක decrypt කරන්න පුළුවන් only the person who has the private key of Bright. Did you understand it? So once again, when it comes to this situation, the sender will have his, obviously he will have his own public and private key as well as the public key of the receiver. Am I correct? Yeah, ඒක use කරගෙන encrypt කරන්නේ. So he using that key only is encrypting. Definitely he should have his what? අනිවාර්යෙන් යාට එතකොට receiver ගේ public key එක තියෙන්න එපා. ඇයි? Because he is encrypting the data using this. Obviously he will have his own public and private key as well as the public key of the receiver. Very simple. Very simple. More simple, I think. මේට සිම්පල් කරන්න තියා මම දන්නෙත් නෑ මං හිතන්නේ එහෙම තියෙයි කියලා. So once again, please complete these notes. Yeah, please complete these notes. May I complete Karagan? Yes, please complete. So guys, so I'll finally wind up the session by providing you the differences between the private key encryption and the public key encryption. So guys, ඔයාලට plan එක නවත්තලා නේද? Screenshot එකක් ගහගෙන හරි වැඩේ කරගන්න. මෙතන ලියන්න. Public key encryption. මෙතන ලියන්න public key encryption in others, ලියන්න private key encryption. Private key encryption. So guys, ඔන්න ඔක්කොම කියලා දෙලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? ඔයාලට තියෙන්නේ ලස්සන්ට note එක ගහගන්න. So once again, when it comes to public key encryption, what is the specialty of public key encryption? Public key is used to encrypt public key is used to encrypt, another private keys, and the paired private key is used to decrypt. All right. So what about private key encryption? Private key is used for both encryption and decryption. So once again, private keys are used for both encryption and decryption. So that's the main difference. That's the main difference when it comes to public key encryption and the private key encryption. Hope it's very clear. So what else? Both, yeah, public key, so private key is shared among both sender and receiver. So what about here? In public key encryption, sender only has the sender has the public key of the receiver. So what else when it comes to public key encryption, it's lower. Why is it? Because yeah, it's a complex process. So what about here? It's faster. What else? When it comes to public key encryption, only the sender and the receiver knows the private key. Only sender and receiver knows the private key. What about here? Private key is only kept secretly, but public key is accessible by anyone. Yes. So once again නේද මට message කරන්න ඕන කියලා මොනවද කරන්නේ? So once again මගේ public key එක නේද? That particular message will be encrypted using my public key. So I can decrypt only using my private key, and the privacy depends on the privacy of my private key. Again, it's what? It's asymmetric, right? It's what? Asymmetric. It's symmetric. So methana private key is not shared, but public key might be known by others. Might be known by others. So what about here? Private key is shared. Is being shared. But once again, only among sender and receiver, okay? So what about the safety? Comparatively less safer. Why is it? Privacy depends on the. So once again, yeah, what about, yeah, less safer, yeah, less safer, and security privacy of private Taliagan. It's what? It's comparatively safe. Why is it? Because only private public key is shared among send and the receiver. The Liagan are less reliable. Comparatively, okay? Comparatively less reliable. Comparatively, it's what? Highly high reliable. Usually, comparatively reliable. All right. So, guys, yeah, I have provided the differences between public key encryption and the private key encryption. All right. So, once again, here I have provided the differences between public key and the private key encryption. So what about public key encryption? Public key used to encrypt and paired private key is used to decrypt. Sender has the public key of the receiver. Lower private key is only kept secretly, but public key is at what? Accessible by anyone. Once again, it's what? Asymmetric. Private key is not being shared. Public key might be known by others. Less safe and what? Less reliable. Why is it less safe? Because security depends on the privacy of private key. So once again, what about private key encryption? Private key is used for what? Both encryption and decryption. Private key is shared among sender and receiver. It's comparatively faster. Only the sender and the receiver knows the private key. See, but symmetric private key is being shared, safe and comparatively reliable. All right, guys. So that's all for today. So in this recording, I have discussed about encryptions and hope it's very clear.